Hey everyone, Marco Strange here, and it's finally the end. This week, I'm looking at Season 4 of Star vs. the Forces of Evil, the final season. As I said in my Season 3 review, I knew this would be the last season. So how did the series go out? Did it turn around to go out on a high note, or did the series continue to go downhill? Before we get into this, I want to thank everyone who has checked out my reviews of Star vs. the Forces of Evil. It's been a fun look back on the series, and I enjoy doing a theme for a whole month. Also, I love hearing your thoughts on my videos, so don't forget to leave a comment. With all that out of the way, let's jump into Season 4. Unlike my previous reviews, I'll get straight to the point. Season 4 was a disappointment. This season was the point the series was going to end on, so everyone's expectations were high. Remember what I said in my Season 2 review? When I talked about how the series seemed to be moving with an overarching story, I noted that it built up everyone's expectations that watching till the end would be worth it. While it does do some things right, it does a lot wrong, and one of the most significant issues is that this whole season feels rushed. Everything this season feels rushed, whether it's the main story, relationships, or character arcs. It's bad to the point that you're either thinking they were hoping for another season, and Disney told them no, or they decided to throw as many things as they could into this season since the series was ending. Some weren't even necessary, nor treated like they were important by the series itself. I could go on about what all feels rushed, but I always say it's one thing to say what something is, it's another to explain why. So why do certain parts of Season 4 feel rushed, and why did it make the season a disappointment? Well, let's start with the story. Most of the season revolves around Star helping Eclipsa run Muni. I'll give this season some credit. I do like that they kept Star in this position. It does show they were trying to have some continuity in this season. Star may have given the throne to Eclipsa, but she still cares about monsters and wants to see them treated fairly. Also, as I said in my Season 3 review, Star does what she wants, regardless of anyone else's opinion. That even includes confronting Eclipsa when Star notices she's doing something wrong. For example, in surviving the spider bites, Star is busy trying to ensure the rulers of the Spider Bite Kingdom will agree to align with Eclipsa. She's doing that because Eclipsa isn't there, and Star knows how important that meeting is. And after failing at making sure the Spider Bites align with Eclipsa, Star finds her and calls her out for blowing off the meeting with them. I do have to give some credit to Season 4. I do like Star in this role. As I said, Star isn't the type to care about titles like Queen or Princess, is trying to make things better for monsters because she knows it's the right thing to do. Unfortunately, this is one of the few things I like about this season. As I said, I have many issues with Season 4. The biggest is how rushed things feel during this season. Take how this season starts as an example. The season starts with the episode Butterfly Follies. In it, we see Star with Marco and River trying to find her mother, Moon. In the next episode, they find Moon, but she's lost her memory. However, after Star sings with her, she starts to regain her memory and decides to return home with them. So I don't have an issue with Moon found in the next episode. That's not what I'm referring to being rushed. My issue is they introduced this point that Moon doesn't remember Star, but is slowly getting her memory back. I was expecting this to be an arc throughout the whole season. Instead, it lasts until the next episode, which happens to be named Moon Remembers. Typically, this type of thing wouldn't bother me. It is just one thing. It's not like it's the biggest issue of something rushed this season. However, in retrospect, after you watch the whole season, you see this is just the first example of things rushed. One or two rushed plot points are okay. I understand that happens in stories, and it's more likely in something like the final season. The issue is almost everything in this season feels rushed. For example, look at the villain this season, Mina. Yep, Mina is the villain of this season. I haven't talked about Mina to this point because she didn't have much of an impact before this. In Season 2, she was in an episode where Star revealed Mina was her hero, and Star had to realize she was crazy. In Season 3, she captures the monster kids at Star's party and tries to take out Meteora. Besides that, Mina had no build-up to being the main villain this season. Take Meteora in comparison. She had been there since Season 1, which had an episode focused on her and St. Olga's. Not only was that a whole episode instead of a half episode like Mina's debut, but Meteora was in several episodes between St. Olga's and Monster Bash. My point is, if you're going to have a surprise villain, like when we found out Miss Heinous was Meteora, at least give us some build-up to it. Instead of all these episodes featuring Meteora before the reveal, the series thinks having a feud with Mina is enough to put her as the main villain. It makes it seem like Mina was a last-minute decision instead of building up to it. I mean, if Mina could have been the villain this season, so could Preston from Trickstar, or Higgs from Trial by Squire. It's even worse when you remember the series had Toffee as a villain, and the fans thought he was a great villain. That's the other issue as well. Why isn't Toffee back? Toffee had that whole speech at the end of Battle for Muni. It made it sound like he'd be back in some way. Instead, we get Glossaryck going back in time, meeting Toffee when he was younger, and talking about how magic is bad. More on that later. I'm not saying Mina couldn't have worked as a villain. I'm sure they could have made it work. However, I'm not here to discuss how to rewrite Mina as a better villain. However, if anyone's interested, I might consider it since she's the main villain in my version of A Star vs. the Forces of Evil sequel. Let me know in the comments if anyone's interested in that idea. For the record, Mina couldn't be the main villain alone. This season makes it clear as someone uses her magic to help Mina try to take over Muni. That certain someone was Moon, and that's how she became unlikable this season. In the final episodes, when Mina is leading an army to take over Muni, it's revealed that Moon made Mina's army for her with magic. Not only does Star get mad at her about this, but so do I. The whole thing comes out of nowhere, especially when you remember Ghost of Butterfly Castle, where Mina tried to talk Moon into helping her, and Moon refused. On top of that, we never see what made Moon change her mind about helping Mina. Not only that, but Moon's reasoning is also horrible. When Star confronts her about this, Moon tries to reason that she did that to stop Mina from making things worse. However, we see Moon using her magic to make Mina's army, so it's clear she made it worse than she made the army. Not only that, I thought Moon was supposed to be smart. Shouldn't she have realized it wasn't the best idea to trust a nutjob like Mina? Why is she even surprised when Mina says she wants to kill all monsters? Mina's made it clear she hates monsters and has never hidden that fact. I mean, it might have worked if Mina was the one that found Moon when she still didn't have her memory, since it would explain why Moon trusted her. Instead, Moon just comes off as a moron for trusting Mina. While the choice of villains in this season is a problem, I have two other issues with this season, one of which is the shipping, which somehow got worse. Again, let me reiterate that what I'm saying is not meant to put down anyone who ships certain characters together. This is only meant to criticize how the series handled relationships between said characters. With that out of the way, Season 4 focuses too much on shipping. I knew that the love triangle between Star, Tom, and Marco would return. I mean, the finale of Season 3 had Marco admitting he kissed Star, and I had a feeling Tom and Star wouldn't break up between seasons. However, this season felt the need to put Marco and Kelly into a relationship while Tom and Star were still together. In the episode Kelly's World, Marco visits Kelly's home dimension. The episode ends with Kelly and Marco talking about their feelings and decide to become, quote, breakup buddies, unquote. For the record, I didn't ship these two together. However, I did see why people shipped these two together, and it wasn't like I hated the ship. At the same time, though, the ship does feel crowbarred into the season. I get there was some build-up with the two of them in Season 3, but the series, once again, never does anything with this pairing. We find out a few episodes later they broke up off-screen, which feels insulting. If you're having them get together, why break them up off-screen? On top of that, why not show them on a date as they did with Star and Tom, or even Marco and Jackie? If you're going to treat this relationship like it's not important to look at, why even have it happen in the first place? It comes off more as pleasing a fan base, but I take it more as an insult because they could have answered more unanswered questions this season, like why Moon changed her mind about helping Mina. So besides Kelly and Marco getting together and then breaking up, they still had the love triangle I mentioned earlier, which has an interesting way of turning out this season. We find out in Curse of the Blood Moon that Star and Marco have feelings for each other because the Blood Moon cursed them together. Personally, this episode gives me the most mixed feelings. I do love the concept of the episode. I love the idea of fate versus destiny and thought it was a great way to call back to one of the most popular episodes from Season 1. At the same time, I have several problems with it. First, it's implied that Marco still has feelings for Star after all this time because of the curse. Does that mean the same happens to Star, even though she's dating Tom? Outside of the kiss and booth buddies, we never see her going through the same stuff as Marco, like when he frowns after seeing Star and Tom kiss in Lava Lake Beach. Second, Tom's the one that told them about the curse. He admits he brought Star to the Blood Moon Ball because he wanted the Blood Moon to curse them together. So why did he wait until now to say this? I mean, he cursed Marco with a naysayer to stop Marco from getting with Star, so why not tell them about the curse that was apparently putting them together in the first place? Third, this episode has wasted potential. Let me ask everyone a question. Wouldn't this episode mean more if Star and Marco were an actual couple and had to ask themselves if they really liked each other, or was it the curse that got them together? This is what I was talking about when I didn't go much deeper into Starco in my Season 3 review. This episode would have been great drama on the most prominent couple in the series, but they wasted it in a last-minute idea. Imagine if Star and Marco had to ask themselves if their feelings were real, or if it was just the curse that caused them to get together. I know some people would have hated it because it's still shipping-related stuff, but it would have felt more natural than ignoring Star's confession for a whole summer and then implying she got with Tom to try to get over her feelings for Marco. Again, if this is what the curse is doing to Marco, it only makes sense the same is happening to Star. I do like that they had the revelation that it wasn't the curse after all. However, I still think having Star and Marco get together before this episode and then break up after this reveal would have made it mean more in the long run when they had Star and Marco realize it wasn't the curse that got them back together. So despite the rushed shipping, it isn't my biggest problem with this season. My biggest problem is Star's revelation before the finale that she should destroy all magic, which comes out of nowhere. Right before the final episode, Star has the revelation that magic has done more harm than good and decides to destroy it. It's also implied that Star's destiny has always been to destroy magic, as her tapestry shows once it's finished. However, this huge revelation comes out of nowhere. It comes off as a tantrum because Moon used magic to make Mina's army, so now she views magic as a problem. I can understand Star being upset, but why is her anger switched from her mother helping Mina to magic being the problem? At the same time, the series never built this up. This revelation feels like a last-minute decision instead of being what the series was building up to all this time. You can argue that the series implied it with how humans use magic to push monsters away from their homes, but we've also seen Star use magic to help monsters. In the episode Starfari, Star uses her magic to help save a village of monsters. Are we sure the monsters could have saved themselves if she didn't have her magic? On top of that, Marco adds in the same episode that she decides to destroy magic, that it was magic that brought them together in the first place. I'm not saying this couldn't have worked, but as I said, it does come off as a last-minute decision instead of something that they were building up to all these years. If this really was the plan all this time, why not show more reasons why Star should destroy magic? Sadly, Season 4 is literally asking why about almost every single thing. However, there's one last question I haven't asked yet. Why was this how it all turned out? No, really, why did it turn out like this? I went from saying the series had a fantastic start to saying the finale was a rushed disappointment. Not just why, but how did this happen? No matter what the plot point was in this season, it feels rushed. When the series started moving more in an overarching story, I was expecting to build up to whatever the end was to be worth it. Instead, it feels more like they didn't know what the ending would be and came up with everything this season at the last possible moment. I did bring up a few things I liked about this season, but all of the problems this season overshadow what should have been a great send-off to a series that many fans fell in love with from the start. Season 4 disappointed me, and I'm still hurt that this was how the series ended. However, those are my thoughts on Season 4. I still have to discuss my thoughts on the series as a whole, since this is my last Star vs. the Forces of Evil review. So I never explained why I decided to review each season individually instead of the series as a whole. The reason I did that, besides having more content for my channel, was so I could focus on the strengths and weaknesses of every season. At the same time, I didn't want my review to come off as just hating on the series. Often, people will watch something, and the ending will stick with them the most. While that is true for me, I can honestly say I still love the series. I miss that it's not on anymore. series may have ended in a way I dislike, but the fact I'm upset with the ending is proof I loved the series. If I just didn't care, I wouldn't be as disappointed as I was. At the same time, the series has made me grow as a person. It helped inspire me to make my own book, and even led to me creating my How I'd Write series, where I talked about how I'd make a sequel for Star vs. the Forces of Evil. And most importantly of all, rewatching everything from the start reminded me of what I loved about this series. Whether it was Star and Marco's relationship building up over time, addressing topics I didn't expect, or some awesome fight scenes, all of them kept me hooked on the series, and are still things I enjoy about it today. Also, the finale did make me smile seeing Star and Marco together. While the final season may have been a disappointment, there's still a lot of good things to remember about this series, which is why I still love it today. And that concludes my reviews of Star vs. the Forces of Evil. Thank you guys for checking out my reviews, and I promise this won't be the last video I do on this series. I already have a few ideas on future videos, so I hope you stay around to see them. Anyways, like all my other reviews, I'm curious what all of you think. What are your thoughts on the final season of Star vs. the Forces of Evil? Did you think it was a disappointment, or did you enjoy it? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to see more of my content in the future. I'm Marco Strange. Stay safe, stay strange.